Today we're talking about one of the most famous punishments in mythology. A god who was chained to a mountain, his liver eaten every day by an eagle, and by night his liver would grow back. For our first video, we're looking at the myth of Prometheus and the theft of fire. If you enjoy mythology and deeper dives like this, consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Prometheus, in Greek mythology, was the Titan god of forethought, who was also said to be the creator of humanity. And because of that, he had a strange relationship with the gods. Prometheus cared about humans, while Zeus did not. The start of the conflict between them begins during a meeting at Mycone, where the gods gathered to decide how sacrifices would be divided between mortals and the gods. Prometheus had slaughtered an ox and divided it into two piles. One pile hid the meat beneath the grotesque innards, and the other placed the bones underneath glistening animal fat. Naturally, Zeus chose the more appealing pile, and to his great anger, underneath the animal fat was nothing more than bones. Prometheus had tricked him, and in doing so, redefined the relationship between gods and humans. From this point on, after a sacrifice, humans would keep the meat, and the gods would receive the bones. Zeus obviously could not allow this insult to stand, and in retaliation would take fire from humanity. Now, without fire, humans were helpless, cold, and hungry, unable to cook food or forge tools. Prometheus could not accept seeing his creation suffer, so he stole fire from Olympus and returned it to mankind. Zeus, furious at Prometheus's actions, could not allow this to stand and would punish both Prometheus and his creation. But Zeus did not punish Prometheus simply because he stole fire. He punished him because of what fire represented. Fire was never just warmth or light. Fire was more than this. Fire meant knowledge. Fire meant independence, and independence was something that Zeus could never allow. Zeus is remembered as the king of the Greek gods, the ruler of Olympus, the god of thunder, law, order, and justice. But Zeus ruled a fragile world. He became king by overthrowing his father Cronus and defeating the Titans, a victory won through violence. And because Zeus took power this way, he understood something important. Power gained through force can also be taken away through force. Stability mattered to Zeus more than fairness, and control mattered more than mercy. Humans existed beneath the gods, not as equals, but as dependents. They prayed to the gods, sacrificed to the gods, and obeyed the gods. And in return, the gods allowed them to survive. This arrangement worked as long as humans remained weak. If humans ever became powerful enough to stand on their own, the balance between gods and mortals could change. That was the real danger Prometheus represented. Prometheus was not an Olympian god. He was a Titan, a survivor of the older generation of gods that ruled before Zeus. When Zeus rose up against his father Cronus and the Titans, Prometheus made a choice that shaped the rest of his existence. He sided with Zeus, not out of loyalty, but because of his gift of foresight. Prometheus could see how the war would end. He knew the Titans who fought against Zeus would eventually be cast into Tartarus, imprisoned for eternity. Prometheus chose survival. And while he stood beside Zeus during the war, he never truly belonged amongst the Olympians. His loyalty was never to Olympus. His loyalty was to something else entirely: humans. Prometheus saw humanity differently than the gods did. Zeus saw humans as weak and temporary, something for the gods to rule over, where Prometheus saw them as unfinished. Prometheus saw humans as capable of learning, growing, and evolving. Where Zeus saw risk and weakness, Prometheus saw potential. And he didn't just sympathize with humans, he helped them, taught them skills, and guided their thinking. He helped them stand upright in a world ruled by gods. In doing so, Prometheus became something far more dangerous than a rebellious titan. He became a threat to Zeus's divine order. The real conflict between Zeus and Prometheus was never about a trick at Macon. It was about something far more dangerous: knowledge. In ancient Greece, fire meant more than warmth or light. Fire meant knowledge, and knowledge would change everything. With fire, humans could cook food, forge metal, create tools and weapons. They could build cities and shape the world around them instead of simply surviving inside it. Fire was progress, but more importantly, it was independence. Once humans controlled fire, they no longer depended on the gods to survive, and that was the problem. When Prometheus stole fire from Olympus and gave it to humanity, he didn't just commit an act of rebellion. He broke an unspoken rule. He erased dependence. Humans could now shape the world without asking permission, and Zeus understood the implication immediately. This was not rebellion, this was replacement. A species that could master fire could one day rival the gods themselves. Zeus could not allow that future to exist. If humans ever became powerful enough, they would no longer need the gods at all. Zeus's response to the theft of fire was rage, and his punishment would be twofold. He would punish both Prometheus and humanity. The first punishment came in the form of a woman named Pandora. Her full story is one we will explore in another video, but in this myth, she exists for a single purpose. She was fashioned as a punishment for mankind. Pandora was given a sealed jar, and inside that jar was misery, disease, suffering, hardship. She was then given to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus, as a gift from Zeus. Prometheus had warned his brother never to accept gifts from Olympus. Epimetheus ignored the warning, and when Pandora opened her jar, the miseries of the world were released. But Zeus would not stop here. Prometheus himself was then chained to a mountain at the edge of the world, and every day an eagle would descend from the skies. It tore open his body, devoured his liver, but left him alive. By night, Prometheus would be healed, and by morning the suffering would begin again, and this punishment would last for an eternity. This was not an execution, it was a message. Death would have been mercy. Death would have freed him. But Zeus chose something worse, an endless punishment, a public punishment, a warning carved into flesh, which showed this was never about justice. It was about deterrence. If Zeus was truly the god of justice, why not simply kill Prometheus? Why not end the rebellion quickly and quietly? Because killing Prometheus would have solved the problem, but it would have sent the wrong message. It would have made Zeus look afraid. Afraid of Prometheus. Afraid of humanity. Zeus did not want Prometheus erased. He wanted Prometheus and his defiance remembered. If Prometheus succeeded without consequence, others might follow. Other gods, other titans, and even humans. They might begin to question the authority of Olympus. So the punishment was not designed to simply destroy Prometheus. It was designed to stop the idea he represented, to freeze the world in place, and to show every being in existence what happens when power is shared. What happens when you challenge authority? This is what happens when you give mortals something they were never meant to have. In the end, Zeus was not defending order. He was defending his order, his power, and his relevance. At first glance, this myth seems as if it is glorifying Zeus, but it was really about explaining the reality of human existence, why suffering exists, and why progress always seems to come with a cost. Why knowledge, while powerful, often creates conflict with the systems that already exist. The story of Prometheus reflects something deeply human, our desire to push forward, to learn, and to improve the world around us, even when doing so invites danger. Because every step forward challenges the systems that already exist, and those systems rarely give up power willingly. Prometheus gave humanity fire, but fire was never just something simple like warmth or light. It was knowledge, it was progress, it was independence, and it would change everything. Fire would change humanity forever, and Zeus knew it. That is why Prometheus and humanity suffered, not for the act of stealing fire, but for proving that humans did not need the gods as much as the gods needed them. And in so doing, Prometheus revealed something the gods did not want to see. He revealed who was truly dependent.